What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stacks at May the Numbers, and I wanted to do a quick update here on SoundHound AI. Just a couple of things I'm keeping an eye on. Not much, honestly, to talk about. We spoke about this company about 3 weeks ago when they reported earnings, and we can see that they actually posted a wider than expected loss here. We were expecting a loss of 9.2 cents a share. Company posted a loss of 12 cents a share, missing by about 30%, but the revenue seems to be remaining strong. The backlog seems to be increasing, and in my opinion, this is really the main metric to keep an eye on. And estimates here, 10.1 million. The company posts almost 11.6 million, beating by about 1.5 million or 14.75%. Now, markets closed just about 10 minutes ago. Stock closed 470, down 21 cents, about 4.25%, up a couple of cents after hours right now. Markets were red across the board here, so understandable that we had a down day here. VIX up almost 10% here on the close, and the yields continue to keep climbing. As we know, bonds go up, stocks go down. That used to be the old rule. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but for the most part, it does. What else is going on? I was talking about oil as well, and oil ran up recently to $80 a barrel. But we want to talk about SoundHound. So SoundHound, just a couple of quick news articles here because they speak about the partnership with NVIDIA, the fact that they're seeing more and more growing demand for the voice AI assistant in the automobiles. And I actually don't think it's this article, but we're moving. Yep, $7 price target, HC Wainwright. And in my opinion, for the record, you guys know that I'm personally very bullish on SoundHound AI. In my opinion, I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take, but in my opinion, over the longer term, easily a $20 to $25 stock, if not significantly more, several years down the road. But again, that is just my opinion. Strong demand, automotive, restaurant sectors. Continue to see demand for its voice AI products, picked up the automotive restaurant industries, signing various large brand deals that fuel growth while grabbing market share in the conversational AI market. The company's subscription and bookings backlog increased to 682 million in the first quarter. This is due to strong product royalties and strength in the automotive segment as new and existing customers continue to show interest in its chat AI platform. SoundHound fully closed acquisition of Sync3, right? That's restaurants. Now the largest U.S. provider of voice AI for restaurants with over 10,000 signed locations and significantly more in the pipeline as the restaurant segment now represents about 30% of total revenue. Company noted strength across its partnership ecosystem, highlighted by a new partnership with NVIDIA that we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, where the company will deliver in-vehicle voice-enabled generative AI responses that don't require connectivity. But now also, they entered a partnership with a company called Perplexity, which is an AI search engine, which of course would require connectivity, but you can have, a real-time conversation with this voice AI assistant. And of course, you can get any information or any help you might need while you're in the car. SoundHound expects to see positive adjusted EBITDA in 25 as the company is well positioned to capitalize on the demand for AI chatbots, strong focus on partnerships, and more use cases being provided. Okay. According to the analyst, this was a major step in the right direction as the company continues to build towards profitable growth with stable revenue pillars in automotive, restaurant, and strong monetization capabilities to capture demand from enterprises across industries that seek ways to optimize efficiencies. Analyst raised his fiscal year outlook on the revenue to 71.6 million from 70.2, and the company also raised their fiscal year revenue range by about 2 million. So that actually makes sense that the analyst raised his yearly revenue number by about 1.5 million. Hold on. Nope. Hold on, we're reading. Quote, our first quarter sets the tone for 24 as another year of strong growth for SoundHound. Voice AI is fast becoming a must-have tool for customer service, and that's reflected in the demand we're seeing for subscriptions. So, in my opinion, this is what I was talking about several updates ago when I mentioned that we could potentially see them go from the restaurant sector to now we're in the automotive sector. People are speculating about the healthcare AI sector. And again, it could be anywhere and everywhere. where people could potentially need a voice AI assistant, which, because we are kind of rapidly becoming a society of convenience, in my opinion, that means basically everyone. Which is why, again, I say conservatively, $20, $25 price target down the line. You know, if we want to peg this at a $6, $7, $10 billion market cap company that we're going to eventually see, you know, a year or so down the road, in my opinion, I would completely agree with that. Again, especially based off the backlog and just the popularity. And of course, they have NVIDIA behind them now. SoundHound slightly narrowed its revenue forecast for the full year. New forecast range between 65 and 77. Increased the bottom of the range by 2 million from 63. Company had previously forecasted 25 revenue would be above 100 million with positive adjusted EBITDA. No June guidance. Street's looking for 13.8 million, loss of 8 cents. They'll probably be able to do that. SoundHound, here it is. SoundHound also announced a partnership with Perplexity, venture-backed AI-powered search engine. The deal will allow users of SoundHound Chat AI, in particular in cars, to ask questions conversationally and to receive real-time answers from the web. So, if this is what I mean. If people are showing demand and showing interest in the voice AI assistant in cars, then chances are they're showing that demand across practically every other segment and sector as well, which is why I'm saying we could potentially get into the healthcare sector. Who knows? Machinery, it could be anything. It could be anything. And that's why, if you really translate all of that into new future revenue and new deals coming in, right, mixed with the price target upgrades, rating upgrades, this is why I'm saying, in my opinion, $20 to $25 down the road actually might be very conservative. I do have to stand by my personal analysis there in saying that. But, quote, by integrating Perplexity search capabilities and SoundHound Chat AI, we're raising the bar for voice assistants and the kind of queries they can handle effortlessly. Where this technology is already deployed in vehicles, we're seeing usage habits shift substantially, increasing by multiples. We're confident that this enhancement will further delight users as more and more people choose to talk rather than type, right? So we thought, excuse me, so we thought we had it made in the shade, right? Everything is basically a computer. You just kind of pound the keys and, you know, you get whatever information you need. And now we've made it even more convenient because instead of having to type something in, you could just talk. So this is why I'm saying, based on the way it looks like, in my opinion, the way society is shifting towards convenience, I am not really seeing big resistance for this company, for their voice AI, to not be incorporated almost everywhere. But again, it's just my opinion. Anything can happen. Wedbush analyst, repeated outperform rating, $9 price target. Yep. He wrote in a research note that the quarter was, quote, a major step in the right direction for the company as it continues to build toward profitable growth. So that's basically all the news that has really come out just in the last 3 weeks since we last looked after earnings. And since then, we can see the stock has kind of just been channeling downward here, potentially forming a wedge, but kind of looks like just more of a downward consolidated channel in my opinion. And this right here is now our resistance trend line. So this is from the highs we hit March 14th, 24, and just connecting to all the recent highs here on May 10th and on May 14th and cutting down across. You can see it slightly got above it and then came right back down below it. So could potentially be a wedge, and if hypothetically we go all the way down here to the apex, we could potentially see a bottom of about $4 a share if we stay in the range. If we break down the range, you can see the next trend line about 385 maybe, around that level, which is basically the trend line we hit last time, right? We had this big sell-off. We were holding these trend lines, and then we started to break below it. We got down to about 3.5, and then the stock ran back up to 6 with earnings, and now we've kind of just been channeling downward. So, of course, we know anything can happen. We can either break up or we could break down. It looks like we have to get above this resistance level here. Based on the current value, if it happens in the next day or two, we're looking at about $5 a share. And then if we happen to close above that resistance level, next stop could be this trend line here at about 5.5. And then if we get above that, we could potentially get back into the 6s and the 7s. But coming back down to $4 a share, while markets potentially topped out and are now in sell-off mode. We have yields rising. We're very volatile. So this is what I'm saying. In my opinion, we could potentially really start to see the pullback here into the high threes, maybe four. And if markets do persist, if you recall, basically this time last year, actually not exactly to the month, but if you recall, we had like a pump up throughout June and July, kind of for no reason. And then what happened? August, September, October, 3 straight months of sell-offs, right? So that's why I always mention things like this when I look at a smaller company that went on a run, had a little bit of a pump, but markets are holding near these highs. In my opinion, that's a dangerous situation because at any moment we flip the script, all of a sudden the markets start to sell off, that stock is going to chunk down as fast and as much as it ran up to begin with. So this is why I never took the gap fill off the table here at 243. And I mentioned that in my opinion, like back here, it could have happened as well if we broke below that trend line. But of course, we bounced. Markets continued to go up, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make. If we do happen to really start selling off here across the board, we could see the threes potentially meeting up with the moving averages, I'll show you in a second, at 320, and then we could potentially see the gap fill at 243. But again, long term, in my opinion, I truly do still think this is a winner, even at a $1.5 billion valuation. And whether the stock's at 240, 380, $5, in my opinion, I think it's a buy for the longer term. But if you have a small account and you're looking for, the absolute lowest price and the best cost, then perhaps you may want to sit and wait right now. Obviously, other people who may have got in here at like 6, 7, 8, now the stock's down at 4 and change. So, as we sell off and drop back down to reality, supposedly, you can keep adding to the position and lowering that cost basis. But I wanted to show the technical side here real quick on stock charts because the RSI basically kind of middle of the road here. It's sitting at about 45.6, but you can also see the multiple rejections here off of the 50-day here on the daily, and it looked like the stock was trying to bounce off the mid-Bollinger Band, sitting here at 499, and of course we dropped down here today, closed at 470. So the next stop could be 438, but I also want to show you that look at how tight these Bollinger Bands are getting now, right? And the last time we had tightness on the Bollinger Bands, yes, we happened to go down first, but then we had the big breakout explosion. So I'm not necessarily saying that because the Bollinger Bands are tightening, we're going to explode back up to $8, $9, $10. But if a break, up or down does happen, in my opinion, it's understandable because usually this is what happens here with the Bollinger Band tightening. But I also want to show here that, first of all, a lot of traders may be seeing this, that the MACD recently crossed to the downside there. So they may be playing, the put side, or they may have jumped in and shorted the stock at around $5, and now they're up a couple of bucks, and they could be playing it back down to 4 or potentially the mid to low 3s here. But on the daily, we have a 200-day moving average at 320. And now if I switch over to the weekly, we have our 50-day moving average at 320. So again, only time will tell what's going to happen. However, we have 2 moving averages on the daily and the weekly, both sitting at 320, so that could potentially be a level that we have to watch. RSI basically middle of the road here on the weekly, 53.5. But we can also see that we had the big run up to 10, and then we pulled back basically to that mid-Bollinger Band on the weekly, and then we had a nice strong bounce off of it, right? So now we're kind of near it again. Stock closed 470, hit a low this week, 459, mid-Bollinger Band 451. So this is why we could potentially have another breakdown through it like we had here, and we could drop to, who knows, like 440, 435, right? So we can technically break below it, but then we can have a strong rebound and reclaim it again. So we might be in kind of like this mode here, where we're just kind of like slowly stepping and bouncing up, right? Or we can, again, break and potentially meet up with those moving averages at 320. You guys know as well as I do when it comes to these technicals and we're looking at all of these price levels and we're drawing out these trend lines, we have to take it day by day. And the MACD, just kind of slowly slipping downward here over the last couple of weeks after this bounce. So anything can happen, but let's check the pivot points actually real quick as well. And we can see we're actually right near a key level of exactly 4.5. And the mid-Bollinger Band on the weekly was 451. which is why I'm saying we could potentially keep dropping here to about the 4.5 range. But if it does come down to 320, hopefully it would bounce up back up. But again, if markets do begin to sell off, we could potentially see a gap fill, and we might even bring the stock back to kind of where it was. So we have to see. Switching over to the daily, we can see we got a pivot point right here, 456. Stock hit a low 459 and then had a little bit of a bounce. So right here in the immediate short term, this is a level to watch here in my eyes, 456. And you also have to watch 451, the mid-Bollinger Band on the weekly. And then we have to watch about the, like, this $3.90 to $4 level. We have to keep an eye on this trend line. And then if we potentially break that, we could see 320 back to the moving averages. So again, only time will tell. You know, a lot of people, it's funny because I started the channel and I focused more on fundamentals. And it's funny because people always jump down your throat. Oh, it's all about the technicals. Fundamentals don't matter. But then at the same time, I see people say, oh, SoundHound ran so much. The company only made 11 million last year. It's not worth 1.5 billion. It's got to come down. Well, wait a minute. I thought it was all about the technicals. What are you looking at the revenue and the market cap for? Right? See what I mean? So that's what makes me laugh about a lot of traders and a lot of investors out there. You know, now that you're in it, or now that you've taken a position, now you try to like flip the way you analyze. And if you have a proven successful track record with your trades or with your investments, then technically you really shouldn't change much. But, you know, anyone who stepped in here and bought puts at 5, you know, now all of a sudden they're looking at the fundamentals. Oh, it's overvalued. You know, it should drop down. So, you know, something like that makes me laugh. But again, in my opinion, I think this is going to be a great stock long-term down the road. And you may have to deal with some short-term volatility to get some long-term growth. And that's pretty much it. You know, again, we don't have much news that came out. Seems like a lot of analysts still currently have, you know, buy ratings, outperform ratings. We saw a $7 price target. We saw a $9 price target, right? That's higher than where the stock is currently trading. So this is what I mean. I feel like everyone's pretty bullish on it. The problem is no one just knows how many more partnerships are going to be entered, or how many new contracts are going to be signed, and who's really going to tap into SoundHound moving forward, which is why, again, I think they're all kind of having price targets just within a couple of dollar range of where the stock is currently trading. But, you know, I'm man enough to go on record, and I'll say, again, over the longer term, $20 to $25, in my opinion, should be a layup, especially if the company just keeps doing what it's doing. In my opinion, really should be a layup. But hey, if you bet against the company, recently shorted, or bought puts, I hope it pulls back for you. If you have a position in the company and you're looking to add to it, well, hey, I hope it pulls back for you as well, right? Because then you can add at a lower cost. So we'll see, but I just wanted to look at it quickly on the technical side and just mention those few news articles and just mention a couple of trend lines and some potential key levels that you guys might want to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks and months going into next earnings. And of course, it really depends on what the overall markets do as well, because as much as we might like this, and as much as we might see the growth and all the new deals and working with NVIDIA, all of that is good. But at the end of the day, if markets do really begin to sell off, like they did summer of last year, tail end of summer of last year, I should say, then something like SoundHound will absolutely drop back down into the low 3s and potentially even the mid 2s. So just wanted to make a quick video just mentioning that to you guys, and I'll end it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel, and of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky and volatile and very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.